Is it okay to take breaks during your run? This is a huge topic on the internet at the minute and is something I wanted to talk about. So the idea here and the main question is that if you're out for a run, is it okay to stop for a breather for 5 minutes or so? Some people say that yes, of course, it's absolutely fine to do that, while others argue that that ruins the point and it's not a complete run if you stopped. I wanted to talk about this a bit and introduce some much needed nuance to a question that obviously has some, and nuance is not something the internet normally likes to provide. Before we start, I'd like to say that yes, if you want to take a break during your run, it's absolutely fine, and please don't let internet people tell you otherwise. So we're going to go into the pros and cons of stopping during a run, and when this might be useful and when sometimes you might need to just push through it. Let's talk about it. So let's get into some of the benefits of taking a break during your run. First of all, the idea of taking a break during a run isn't a new idea. Couch to 5K, run, walk, run kind of training methods have been around for ages, and they're really helpful to people for really good reasons. Taking a break during your run can just help you mentally get over like the struggle of it. I, for one, really struggle with long, slow runs, like when you're doing marathon training. I really struggle with those. But if I schedule in a nice little 2-minute break at a certain point, maybe at a nice view, I find it much more easy to mentally tackle those long runs, when honestly, otherwise, I might have just sacked it in. So if you feel like you need to plan in a little break just to help you get through it, I think that's absolutely fine, and you shouldn't let anyone tell you otherwise. But it's not just the mental side of taking a break during a run that I think is super helpful. If you're new to running, it can really hurt. You can get really stiff joints and it can be really difficult to get through. Taking a break, letting your heart rate come down a bit, letting the blood flow around, get rid of some of that lactic acid can be really helpful. Just help you recharge, take a reset and just kind of go again. In the end, you'll end up better off for it than if you hadn't have done that. So if you feel like you need that, that's absolutely fine. During some interval sessions, the breaks are literally required. They're part of that work. They're important and integral to that session being valuable. So you should never feel ashamed of taking a break. It's absolutely something you can do if you feel like you need to at any point. But are there any cons to taking a break? Well, of course there are. Like with anything, there's nuance here. So let's go into some of the cons about taking a break during a run. What are some of the cons about taking breaks during your run? Well, like most things, I think that too much of a good thing can end up being quite negative. If you are training for a sustained run, maybe you want to run a full 5K without stopping. If you're taking breaks regularly in training and it becomes sort of a crutch or a way for you to get through, you might never push yourself enough and kind of develop the mental grit to keep going when you need to if you keep taking breaks. So you can kind of end up falling back on it. Whereas if you've got a certain goal in mind, it might require that you need to push through that. I would say if your run is so hard that you feel like you need to stop all the time, you'd probably be better off most of the time just slowing down overall, so that kind of urge and pain doesn't get so strong that you feel like you need to stop. I think a lot of running, a huge part of running is about developing a mental grit and a kind of a mental focus. I think some of the dangers with taking breaks too often during your runs and using it as a kind of get out of jail free card can be that maybe you don't develop that mental grit as quickly. Learning to push through those periods where it's really tough and all you want to do is stop is just as important as letting yourself rest when you need it. They're both equally important, and I think like most things, there just needs to be a balance. So where did we land? Is taking a break during your run okay, or is it a sin? Obviously, it's fine, but like I said, in moderation. If you're training for a specific performance goal, then allowing yourself to stop all the time isn't always going to be the most beneficial to you achieving that goal. On the other hand, if you're just training to get slightly better at running and you feel like scheduling in a break during your run would help you get out the door and get it done, that is incredibly useful. And it can be a really nice way to enjoy the run more. If you feel like you give yourself permission to take breaks and enjoy the scenery, or just have a breather and just kind of be proud of yourself for what you're doing, I think that's incredibly helpful. I definitely do it during those long runs that I really find mentally quite boring. I find scheduling in those little breaks really helpful. But I hope that's been helpful, And I feel like if you don't feel like you have permission to stop, you do. This is me signing your slip to take a break during a run if you feel like you need it.